Welcome back, YouTube, to another Uncle Soul shoe review, where it's reviews made for uncles by uncle. Today, we'll be taking a look at another LiNing shoe, one of the most anticipated for the year, the JB3s. Hopefully, this review ends better than Jimmy Butler's career in Miami. Also, I'm going to change the format for my review just a little bit. More tweaks to make it more streamlined. Hopefully it'll go better. Leave a comment down below if you like the new format or you absolutely hate it and you want to let me know about it. Before we get started, if you like what I do, please like and subscribe to the video. This will tell YouTube that you like the video and you like what I'm doing and I should keep doing it. Without further ado, let's talk shoes. So the JB3s is one of the most anticipated shoe from actually late 2024, but I haven't gone down to reviewing it until 2025 because the price was way too expensive. It's gone down since. A lot more colorways have come out, so now it's a little bit more affordable. So let's start with pricing. Price is $189 US, $240 Canadian. That was from $300 to start for Canadian. If you catch it on sale, you can get it for a little bit cheaper too. The weight of the shoe is to fit shoe to size, wide foot friendly. I'm 9.5 Nike. I wear 9.5 JB3s. There's actually quite a bit of room if I don't wear thick socks on side to side, but you don't shift in it. The colorway that I have in my hands called the Care colorway. This is a little different than the other ones. The heel material is actually fleece. It's just normal textile for your other colorways, and there's all sorts of different weird stuff on the tongue as well. But it doesn't really matter what material it is. This shoe feels amazing when you put it in. The only complaint I have would be this little heel tab here, which does just as much as Jimmy Butler in his last month in Miami. But what is not useless is the Player Assist Tech, which is my newest section. So let's get right into it. So Player Assist Tech pad is this new section that I'll be covering, not the entire tech of the shoe, but only the tech that enhances the player performance. The JB3 is definitely jam-packed with that, so let's get right into it. Starting off, full-length boom in the midsole, carbon core system with a carbon plate in the middle. It is not a full-length carbon plate this time. It is an interesting curved carbon plate that goes from the midfoot all the way to the forefoot. It is in a very aggressive style. This gives an insane amount of feedback whenever you're taking steps and taking jumps. I was wrong. In my previous shoe tech video, I mentioned that the CCDS is generally more mild and it doesn't hurt the user as much. The Jimmy Butler 3s have definitely changed my view. The aggressive carbon plate in the JB3 is very noticeable. It's like playing Mario. Once you get started, you gotta keep moving. It doesn't matter if you're moving forward, you're moving laterally, you're jumping. This shoe makes sure that you're not staying still on court. And it's a great feeling, but it definitely adds a lot more stress onto the user. One thing I do want to note is that despite how aggressive the system is, there was no pain in my foot after the game. So that means that whatever rebound from the carbon plate did not feed into my foot thanks to the well-tuned carbon core drive system, which is a significant improvement from the WOW 10. So all in all, the pad in the JB3 gets an SSS grade for me. It's funny because we start this whole grading system and I'm already giving out the top grade. But really, I have never tried another shoe that is as aggressive but as well-tuned as the JB3. Even the Gammas, which is more well-tuned, it's like a seasoned swordsman, while this thing is a mad berserker, but a very good mad berserker. That's a little bit of nerd coming out of me. So why don't we jump to Uncle's 4 pillars. Traction, not a huge surprise here. A premium shoe like this features a full-length GCU. It's in the Jimmy Butler pattern. Again, LiNing likes to do crazy stuff with their GCU and their patterns, but it is tuned very well. It is not slippery on even the dusty courts. Doesn't pick up a whole lot of dust, and a quick wipe like this and the dust goes away. This thing gets a grade S from me, crispy as all hell. The only concern I have, and the only reason why I take some points off, is because on hand they feel like the new compound GCU. From what I remember, this GCU isn't as durable as the WOW 11s, so that's why I would say take some points off that one. Cushioning. Again, we talked about this earlier, full length boom, and it is thicker than your average LiNing shoe. It is not a low to the ground shoe. There is substantial cushioning in both the forefoot and the heel. The impact protection is great. The boom is tuned a little stiff, so it gives you that really good bounciness and responsiveness to it. So even though it is a little thick in the forefoot, the responsiveness and court feel is great. Combined with the CCDS in this shoe, it is hella fun to play in this thing with really good impact protection as well. On heel landings, I didn't even feel any shock past my knees. Well done, LiNing. This gets an SSS grade from me for bounce and an S grade from me for impact protection. Stability. Here you see that this is LiNing's most balanced shoe. There is 0 degree eversion on the shoe to start, and even on loaded or on jumps, this feels exactly the same. It is a very well balanced shoe. That's mostly thanks to this TPU support over here that's really low to the arch, so it doesn't actually bite into it. This gives you really good protection towards eversion. This is also a stiff cloud foam carrier that also gives you a little bit of pushback for your arch. And on the other hand, there is no hard TPU covers on the outsole. It is, again, the cloud foam carrier. And I think LiNing has paid a lot of attention to user feedback in 2024, because a lot of complaints for LiNing shoe comes from the fact that they put really structured TPU counter on the lateral side, which pushes the boom inwards when it lands and needs to release energy. This flattens the boom inside, creates an eversion. It's great that you won't roll your ankles, but at the same time, this puts a lot of stress on the ankle. And the Chinese community has been very vocal about this massive eversion on a lot of LiNing shoes, including the Lirin 4v2s, including the Lirin 5s, including the Gammas. And I think LiNing has really taken that into consideration, because this is definitely the most well-balanced shoe. And you can see this TPU counter, even though it's a little soft, it is designed solely for the purpose of supporting that boom when it comes in, so that it doesn't push your foot this way. There's also a lot of support on this side, but all of them are soft, low support on your lateral side, which drops your foot lower, so it doesn't create that eversion as well. In addition, because both sides have been dropped low, the center of gravity, despite the thicker boom, it's actually really low on this shoe. And that increases the stability, so you a lower center of gravity, less chance you have to roll over your ankles. So forget eversion, now we're talking about inversion. Additionally, this is a pretty wide base on the forefoot, again, increases the stability of the shoe. And of course, the classic ladder shape in the forefoot, once again, all that combined is a very well-tuned package to prevent inversion and eversion. And of course, the carbon plate in the middle creates a lot of torsional support for the shoe. That's no surprise. This is LiNing's how many tries at it. So overall, this whole package wraps up to an SSS grade on stability. I mean, what else are you going to give it? Finally, lockdown. So here is interesting, because the lockdown is actually very well designed as well. On this version, is the KPU, or you can simply say it's a TPU upper, that is very well supported by the lacing system. So if you lace them tight, it will grab onto your foot. It will just wrap around your foot. So the midfoot and the top area is very well secured. The forefoot with its a little bit of leather, there's still a little bit of KPU in here, so that's also pretty well done. I suspect that the leather version is going to take a little time to break in, but with the same lacing system, it should achieve the same kind of lockdown as the KPU version. The heel is very well padded, so heel slippage is mild. I wouldn't say there is none, because there is no cat tongue, so if your foot is not a perfect shape to this shoe, it has this tiny bit of heel slippage. It's very unnoticeable. What I will say is that forefoot, because it is wide foot friendly, Although my foot does not slip any one way or another, there is a little bit of wiggle room. So on very, very hard lateral stops, there is a little bit of rolling into the outer lateral side, but nothing that would affect gameplay and nothing that would make you feel unsafe. With that, the lockdown gets an S grade for me for the JB3. That covers the JB3's basic features. I mean, no surprise there. This is one of LiNing's best shoes, so S grades, SSS grades everywhere. So let's get into why this shoe is worth the money that it's worth. I think the JB3 is the best all-around shoe ever made.
Wow!
And I'm gonna break it down in the performance section why. The first thing that we always talk about is the heel to toe transition and lateral transition. This transition is smooth like a baby's bottom. Number one, ball heel shape with a little bit of edge in it, but that's a design choice and we'll talk about that. A very well designed rocker in the front. So the transition to the heel to toe is absolutely perfect with no dead points. The interesting thing that I want to point out is these two pointy spots that protrudes out from having this perfect ball shape. And that is because these are for lateral transition. When your heel is going from here or here on lateral cuts or stops, a ball shape would be far too narrow and you're gonna step into the foam. But just a little further allows the GCU to come out just a little bit, and that gives you that perfect angle on the GCU for a hard stop on the back. That is an amazing small detail that they put into the JB3. Additionally, this TPU counter on the side has a slit which actually compresses pretty well. So when you're going through a cross step, when you step through this point, the TPU counter actually doesn't get in your way. And again, small details that is so fine-tuned that you wouldn't really pay attention to it when you're looking at the shoe, but when it's on your feet, these makes a huge difference. We've always talked about how interference needs to be minimal on a basketball shoe because you want to feel as much of the ground as possible. And these points allows you to do that. What does surprise me is I'm not sure if this is cost savings or they're trying to drive a point or they're trying to prove how good they are. Because if you look at both the heel GCU and the medial side GCU, it actually doesn't come up as high as some of your other basketball shoes, which are really good for shifty guards. However, when I play in this, I have never stepped into a spot where I didn't have traction. So I never stepped past this point and I never stepped past this point, which is surprising because these don't come up that far. Anyways, LiNing, you deserve another SSS for heel to toe transition. Now combine this great transition with the CCDS assist, jumping on this thing feels way too good. Changing gear to material, this TPU KPU cage feels very good on hand. It doesn't feel like that cheap crap you have from 361. Sorry, but it looks cheap, it feels cheap. And it's also really well padded inside, so when you put the whole step in comfort, feels really premium. I think the fleece also plays a big part in the care colorway. When I had the yellow and black version, it still felt pretty premium, but definitely not as plushy as this one. Again, the boom, even in its stiffer form, feels really good on foot. The only thing that I don't like in this shoe is this tiny patch of suede in the toe area. It feels great when it's new. It does get dirty because this is a spot where, people step on. So I would have much rather they just extended the synthetic leather all the way to the top because at least that's easier to clean. But that's a very nitpicky item on an otherwise very premium feeling shoe. So I would say it's not faux synthetic leather or textile. I would give it an S grade. Breathability is surprisingly good. There's actually a lot of holes in this shoe that lets out air. Obviously, there's a lot of material in this, so I would say this is the only part where the shoe deserves an A grade. Style. I won't be rating style because that's way too subjective. I personally dig this whole cage tennis shoe look on the shoe. I'd rather the cage is something else, but this looks pretty cool. But let me know in the comments below, do you like the look of the JB3? Overall, I think the JB3 deserves an SS grade from me. It is most definitely the best all-rounder LiNing has ever made. Well, with that, let's get into who this shoe was designed for. I mean, Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is a do-it-all, all-round player who doesn't excel in anything except for the dog in him. And this shoe encapsulates that. It is especially good for players that like to slash, drive, and be very active on defense, much like Jimmy Butler. Athletic uncles and nephews that likes to do that kind of stuff and also likes to jump a lot. The CCDS in this shoe, along with the full-length boom, is going to make you cry in joy. Cardio uncles who likes to run a lot will very much appreciate the pad in this shoe, and of course the silky smooth heel to toe transition. Even chunky uncles, the impact protection in this shoe is amazing for players who just want that extra push in their post move. The CCDS and the pad in this will do the job, along with giving very ample lockdown and ankle protection and impact protection for an inside player as well. Bunnies who constantly jumps will activate the pad in this shoe over and over again, and they will appreciate that every single time they lift off. Who the shoe isn't designed for is chill uncles, who likes to do cardios but likes to do it in their own pace. They're not gonna like that this shoe will push them to do things constantly. And also pure shooters. There's nothing wrong with this shoe for pure shooter, but it's not really designed for pure shooters. So you might appreciate the boom, you might appreciate some of the feedback from the CCDS, but you're going to be wasting a lot of the features and a lot of the design key points for this shoe. For example, the TPU counter with a extra slit in the bottom. And finally, just because this shoe is so damn good, there's been a lot of comparison with the JB3 towards a lot of other top tier shoe. So I'm going to cover that as well in today's review. So starting up with the JB3's light version called the Buckets. I'm not actually going to cover the comparison between the two today. And that's also why you see this shoe here, even though I haven't talked about it the entire thing. This is the JB Buckets. It's the first time the JB line has a budget team shoe, and I think this looks absolutely badass. But I'm actually going to cover this shoe in another video, and then the comparison between these two shoes in a follow-up video, and that is because the Buckets features the polymer core drive system, which uses a TPU plate instead of the carbon core drive system, which uses the carbon fiber plate. And I want to highlight the difference between the two shoes and the feedback between the two systems. So anyways, that's for a future video. But today, I do want to talk about this JB3's comparison with a few of the top tier shoes. So number one, let's compare this to the previous version, the JB2. The JB2 is a lot smoother. The CCDS is very much invisible in that shoe. It gives a lot of nice feeling, nice rebound. And the downside for the JB2 has always been durability of the outsole, and stability on the heel is also a little weak. JB3 basically fixes all of that and tune up every point that the JB2's weaknesses, and of course gives it a lot more feedback in its carbon core drive. So there's no comparison between the two. Unless you are a chill uncle, then the JB2 would fit you better. Now compared to the Gammas, I think the JB3 features much more impact protection. It also fits other players a lot better with wide foot. If you don't know what you're looking for, I think the JB3 would fit you better. The Gammas are still the best guard shoes out there. The Gamma's CCDS is tuned very specifically towards shifty movements. So if you are a shifty guard, I would say the Gammas are still your top choice. But if you're a guard or a player that just does a little bit of everything, then the JB3 would definitely be a better choice from now on. The Wild Tense, this is just a better shoe than the Wild Tense. And finally, compared to the new king of the court, the Joker 1 GT, I like the JB3s better. JB3 features a lot of old techs. We say old tech is like 3 to 5 years, it's actually not that old, but it is an older tech. It is an older generation of tech. Boom is not new. TPU, KPU, all these things are not new. However, you put them into a perfect little package here. The designer has put a lot of effort to squeeze the best out of every little piece of tech and every design philosophy into one shoe that fits everybody. The eversion fix with its TPU and the lower center of gravity with the perfect placement of support, the softening of a TPU counter on the outer that decreases the interference, the absolutely perfect calculation of where the GCU needs to be, the perfect rocker, great upper material. Everything is just put together in a very, very nice package. On the other hand, the Joker 1 GT is also a top tier shoe because it's exciting new tech that has never been seen before. I have mentioned in the last video that I don't think the Joker 1 GT was a perfectly designed shoe. Given how good the new cushioning and midsole is, you can overlook those little flaws. And that's why I'm so excited in the future to see what if you put that midsole into a perfectly designed shoe like the JB3. Like, what is it going to do? And very excited to find that out. But in today's world, this is a better designed shoe. This is a shoe that fits more players. The Joker 1 GT is for someone who really values tech or who really wants to have a certain type of feeling when you put on a shoe, whether that is a plushy, luxurious ride or a bouncy castle of jumping feedback or a perfect support for your jump shots. But this fits more type of players. So JB3 for me wins between the two. And I crown this currently the best overall basketball shoe in the market over the Gammas, over the Joker 1 GT, over the Wild Tans, even over the LiNing 5, which is still, after reviewing this shoe, is still my favorite shoe. The LiNing 5 still gives me this really unique push-off system, and a 4-foot boom that feels like a Zoom bag is still something that hasn't been replicated yet. I'm very excited to see what LiNing comes up with next, because they do have the next Super Tech, which is the Super Boom, which is going to be just as good, which is just as good as the CQ Extreme. And look at this shoe. They fixed everything wrong with LiNing. The eversion, the shitty fit with certain shoes, the cheap feeling of some of the lighter shoes. Now, put Super Boom in it and make it happen. And I don't know if there's another brand that can do what LiNing is doing. And that, folks, covers my review of the new LiNing JB3s. Let me know if you like this video and comment down below. Until then, remember to stretch. Until next time.